So many of us right now are wound really tight in these strange days. So, this panel conversation is an opportunity for us to spend some time unspooling. And it's also an opportunity to recognize that there is a wide range of experiences right now. So if we think of the continuum, there are some people over here who are frazzled and pulled in so many directions. And there's people on the other side of the continuum who find that they actually have less distraction and they're thriving in this time. And I've spoken with a couple people who feel kind of guilty about that. So, in between those two sides of the continuum and sort of around the continuum are a vast array of experiences. And so, by no means are we saying that the voices on this panel are speaking for all of the voices on campus. But what we are saying is that these voices hopefully will reflect a small piece of your experience. And in reflecting that, hopefully you're going to have an opportunity to unspool as well. So I want to start off the panel conversation with introductions. If you could please share who you are and sort of what your experience right now is. And I'm going to kick it off. My name is Teresa Kim, and my experience kind of is more on that frazzled side. I have three children and am finding that I'm pulled in so many different directions that I'm having a hard time staying grounded and really knowing what I should be doing in this time. So that's my kickoff. So, Lindsay, do you mind going next?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Thanks, Teresa. So, good morning or afternoon. My name is Lindsay Healis. I am a career advisor in the law school. I will tell you my personal experience. I'm a very extroverted human. And so this has been a really challenging time for me. My significant other is an essential worker, and so I'm home alone pretty much all day long. And so that has been a real struggle for me. And I think also it's just hard to kind of hear the stories of our students who, particularly, I think our third year students or our graduating students who have so looked forward to this last year of their experience in law school and to graduation and to being hooded and to being sworn into the bar. And so for me, I tend to be a little bit more on the frazzled and struggling side just because I really thrive on human experience and interaction.
Thank you. Raven, do you mind going next?
It would absolutely be my pleasure. I'm Becca Raven, and I'm thriving in this environment. I don't have children, so I don't have that added responsibility of not only caring for them, but making sure they're, preoccupied with other things throughout the day. So my focus has really just been left to be wide open on whatever I feel is the next important thing that my attention should be on. I, more than feeling guilty about this, I feel a little bit like, how can I go back to the office? Because this is being so productive for me. So that's kind of, I'm on the other end of the spectrum.
There you go. Perfect start to introductions. We've covered both sides of the spectrum. Cassandra, can you go next?
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Cassandra Thorpe. I'm an assistant director in the Office of Career and Leadership within the athletic department. And this has been a transition, obviously, for all of us. I think for me, similar to Lindsay, I'm also very extroverted. So the fact that it's not a continual engagement with students and coaches and staff and colleagues, that's been a challenging piece for me here. My family lives all on the East Coast, so I'm here in Madison, just myself. The closest family that I have is in Michigan, which is 6 hours away. And to get to the point about being productive, I think the void of being pulled in different directions with meetings or conversations physically with students has now all gone virtual. So it's still the engagement piece, as well as some additional projects that have come out of it. So initially it was very frazzling, just trying to figure out what my routine and honestly my home setup was going to look like. And now it's starting to get a rhythm and starting to see progress and productivity rise.
Thank you, Cassandra. I like that whole point of now you're getting to a rhythm. Like I think week 5, some folks are. Rebecca, do you mind going next?
No problem. Hi, everyone. I am 24 years old. I just moved to Madison mid-February. So I am rather new to the area and just started working. And actually did go homesick on March 6th. So I only worked for, I think, 3 weeks and then was sent home to work from home. And honestly, I agree with Cassandra. I am now kind of developing a sort of routine, but it did take up until right now for me to get there. And with being so new, I am kind of in this boat of struggling to find like work to do for 8 hours every day. But at the same time, extremely grateful that I am working right now. I know there's a lot of people, especially my family members, who aren't as lucky right now. I do live with my boyfriend, and we share a room, so that's been really hard. He actually works out of our walk-in closet, and I work at our little table in the room, and then we have one roommate that lives with us as well. And so it's been difficult in that sense that I don't really have a conducive work environment, but also I've had a chance to bond with my roommate, which has been kind of cool. And then my boyfriend was just sent to work at home as well, so we've been able to spend some time together. And that's been nice, but overall, definitely a challenge like others have mentioned.
Thank you. We've got 2 Sarahs. So Sarah John, do you mind going first?
Sure. So my name is Sarah John, and I have worked for the UW for about 11 years, and I currently work in medical imaging research. I would say my experience so far has been about 50-50. I'm slowly getting into a routine, but I also feel sometimes 50% frazzled. I have a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old. So my kindergartner just started online schooling, so it's a little bit challenging helping him with schooling and working. But at the same part, I am thankful that I am able to do my job remotely, and I do have projects to keep me busy while I'm working. But all in all, it has been quite an experience, but slowly getting into a routine.
And Sarah, as we hear some of your little ones in the background, I really appreciate you taking the time out to do this and to kind of be the voice for the people who are on the WebExes with their kids in the background. Like that is a lot of people right now. So thank you for being here. Jane, can you go next?
Sure, my pleasure. Hi everyone, my name is Jing, and so with my work, I work with international students, and I started working here at UW-Madison last July. Before that, I've lived in Boston for most of my life, so it's been new for me to move over to Madison, and also for the recent event that's happening. So it's been a lot of changes happening in my life in a short period of time. And I would say I'm kind of in the middle of the spectrum right now, but in the beginning, I was definitely leaning more towards the more frazzled because I had to make a decision. So I do have my own apartment, but I also have a boyfriend who lives with his roommate. So at the start of last month, I decided to move in because I really value that social aspect. So I imagine that if I were to continue to live on my own during this period where we don't have a lot of socialization going on, we can't go to office, I would feel very isolated. So I made the decision to move in here with my boyfriend, and his roommate and his roommate's girlfriend also live here. So it's 4 people living together in a 2-bedroom apartment. There's definitely been changes for me for instance, we have to find spaces every day to have those video conferences to find out like who's going to be using the kitchen when. And the biggest change for me is sort of when do I go to sleep? Because if other people are on a different schedule, there's noises or sounds at different times of the day. So you really have to work and adapt to that. But on the upside, so kind of similar to Cassandra, Rebecca, and everyone that's been getting into a new routine that's been happening for me as well. So really finding the things to do when I'm at home. So before I used to go to the gym a lot. I have group training and exercise at least 3 times a week. Now I can't do that. So for instance, I've been using this Nike training app on my phone. That's been really helpful. Signing up for a breakthrough challenge, and then also finding a social support group online that we're all doing these exercises together. So that's certainly been helpful. And I think things are starting to come together. And
Thank you, Jing. And then Sarah, can you go ahead?
Hi, so I'm Sarah Glodich, and I would say that I'm more in the middle of the spectrum because some days I'm frazzled and some days I'm not. So it just kind of averages out to being in the middle. It is interesting trying to connect with people virtually. I think I'm lucky that my in-laws are very extroverted because we're pretty introverted. And on Sunday we did a virtual Easter egg hunt, which was pretty fun. So yeah, it's just every day having to kind of adapt. And I have noticed that on days that I kind of put my phone away and don't read the news at all, those are the non-frazzled days. So I'm trying to make a habit of just like acknowledging that there's lots of news happening and that I don't need to be completely up to date because it does affect my mental health.
Thank you. So there seems to be this theme of kind of getting a rhythm and getting a routine. And one of the things I really did want to hit on today was balance. And I think balance means different things for different people all the time. And certainly now in these days, it means different things. So I just want to toss out the question of how are you finding balance right now? And we're going to try to just let people jump in and see how it goes.
I can start. One way that I've been finding balance is at first I was thinking, okay, I'll work until my normal hours at 4:30, and then I'll do all the things that I wanted to do at home after that. And because of the condensed workday that I was beginning to have, I wasn't able to do all of the work of the housework components. And so one way that I've been able to find some of that balance is putting in a load of laundry while I go through some emails, or to get up and get a break after I've created a project is to then I'll go wash the dishes. So kind of incorporating some of my housework into the workday has been helpful. I also think for me, keeping that schedule, kind of keeping a similar work schedule that I would have if I was on campus. So try not to start later in the day than I typically would, or go later into the night. Now I have that flexibility because I am a single person and I'm living alone, so I can make those keep that schedule where maybe if I did have a significant other or children, that my workday would look different. I also think one thing that I've helped with balance, since you can't always interact with people, is I set up FaceTime calls or video chats through Zoom with people from like my friends that I used to see every day, like at the office. So we have a standing meeting every Thursday where we talk for an hour and catch up on our weeks, which is that's been really good. And then my church as well has started to go virtual, or we do live stream for services, and I'm part of the audiovisual group with that. So I continue to stay connected with that community. And that's helped me continue to have a balance with everything else kind of just being uncertain. Like Sarah said, like you look at the news, everything, it changes every day. So those things have been helpful in keeping me balanced and consistent as I've tried to be as productive as I can in my work, as well as productive as I can be in my personal life. And I'm very, very thankful that technology is where it is today. So I think it'd be a lot more challenging to find that balance and to check up on our loved ones and friends if we didn't have it be as strong as it is right now.
So I can talk a little bit. Obviously when I'm at work, I don't live in Madison, so my commute typically is about an hour and 10 minutes. So that part has been, I guess, Phil, has been great. But I don't always have the luxury to take my dog for what I'm going to call an adventure, because if I say the word WALK, you'll see him run across the screen. And so I try every day around 2 o'clock when I'm kind of hitting that like slump to like force myself. And I think the great thing is he's become kind of routine to that. And so I don't know how dogs tell time, but Randall definitely knows when it is that time. And so I think just kind of giving myself the grace of like, okay, let's take this adventure. Like, let's enjoy being outside. Like, I think certainly we've been fortunate that the sun has been out lately. And so I think it's just a good way to like take some time to just kind of breathe through anything that's going on and like taking a break for my mental health, but also like just kind of appreciating the luxury that I have of like being able to do that at 2 o'clock instead of doing it at 8 o'clock at night or whenever it tends to happen. So I think that's been really great. And then I agree with kind of some of the other things that other participants said is I am trying to be much more of a fit human. And I feel like I now have way less of an excuse because I can't be like, I work 14 hours. Like, that's not true. Like, you're home. And so I'm trying really hard. And the other thing I'm trying really hard to do is to start my day with my workout, because I find that my mental health is in so much of a better place all day if I work out right away in the morning. Kind of just keeps me routined, and I think just makes me a much happier human.
I also like to start my day every day by working out. I find that it totally changes my mindset for the day. It keeps me in a routine, and it really is the only time that I usually get by myself, which I really try to take advantage of that, just clear my head, get ready for the day. And then I too also try to take small breaks, whether it's just getting up and going outside for a minute, or moving my computer outside while my kids can play a little bit just to get some fresh air, or taking a minute to help my son with his homework. I have had to change my schedule a little bit. Sometimes I have to work a little bit later if I wasn't able to accomplish some of the projects I wanted to accomplish during the day. Or sometimes I also try to start a little bit earlier. But for the most part, I usually try to stick to the 7:30, 4 o'clock routine, and then save like my other non-work related projects for after 4.
Becca Raven here. I have found a couple things. Exercising for me, I don't know why, it ain't happening. I love to walk. I love to get, to do that. It ain't happening. And so I've just realized I am not pressuring myself. I think all of us, it's interesting. I don't even think any of us are really paying that much attention or that much aware of how much this pandemic really has affected us. And so I kind of just look at this as, you know what? I'm not beating myself up about this. And bravo to everybody who's fitting it into their day. But what I do know that I've done to help maintain a sense of balance and sanity for myself is I too will work a chore into the day, take a break, do the dishes, take a break, throw the laundry in, whatever. I find that very joyful, because I can get things done that matter to me within my workday. And it's not like I'm doing them when I get home at night and I'm exhausted. I'm doing them in the throes of all the energy. So I'm loving that. The other thing that's really important to me is I don't want to come out of this COVID-19 without having accomplished something I'm really proud of and something that I value for myself. So I decided after 45 years of wishing this, I've started to learn to play the guitar. And that is the first thing I do in the morning after I get up and grab a cup of coffee is I go into my space and I grab my lovely guitar that my husband, bless his heart, gifted me. And I play guitar in my crazy little whatever way for about 30 minutes. And I come away each day going, I'm getting better at this. And so I've found that that's a real important piece for me to know throughout the day when things get crazy or I get, like, I don't know if anybody else finds that all of a sudden I'm just kind of, it's like nothing big happens, but now I can be just overwhelmed with what should I do next? I kind of take a breath back going, no worry, girl. You practiced guitar today and you're getting better. All things are good. So that's kind of just something that I've, used to help me get through just the unknowns about this. Even with it being wonderful to be working from home and wonderful to have a space as beautiful as what I consider my dining room. I just kind of feel aesthetically I am thriving, but still having to deal with that there's a lot of stress that's going on around all of this. So that's me.
I can hop in here. It's Rebecca. And Becca, that's really awesome with the guitar. I think that's so cool. I bought a ukulele with the same hopes, and I have not gotten there yet. So hopefully soon. I think my biggest struggle was that I always shifted my focus with places that I went. So I think it was Jing that said that you used to go to the gym 3 times a week, and that was like your mindset to work out. And so I used to go to the gym, and that was my mindset. I was working out, and I would go to work, and that was my mindset for work. And if I wanted to study or do something more quiet or personal, I would go to a coffee shop or a library. And so this has been difficult for me to transition my mindset, especially like waking up in the morning, transitioning to work, and then transitioning to exercise in some sort of way, transitioning to relax. And so some things that I found to be really helpful is I've just reshifted kind of what those focuses look like. And so a cup of coffee in the morning is like my transition to work. I thought maybe Lindsay said something like that, or just finding the little things like getting a cup of coffee in the morning. Looking forward to that, and that's my transition into my work day. Working out, it might be my transition and just changing into my work clothes or workout clothes and going that way. So that's been really helpful. I've also been trying to hold myself more accountable for balance. And so I've been doing Zoom workouts. If anyone's ever done those, it's actually kind of nice, like a group workout, because everyone on there can see you. You can turn off your video, but it's nice to have people who are holding you accountable and actually look forward to seeing you. And if you join a certain work group, you might have a small group of people, so they actually know you by name and become kind of like a group of friends through this really odd time that we are through right now. So those are a few things that I've just enjoyed, but to find balance, yeah, my main thing was really just finding different ways to shift my focus than leaving what I do physically.
And I can chime in here. I can really relate to a lot of what Rebecca is doing. For instance, putting ourselves in the mode. When I'm exercising, I put on my exercising clothes. When I'm working, although I'm not on camera all the time, I make sure I dress and wear clothes. So I'm kind of in that mindset. And so over the past month, what's really been challenging for me is that both my work goal and my non-work goals have been shifted. Work-wise, because we will not really have any face-to-face activities with students for at least the foreseeable future. In the next several months, we have to switch gears and start to plan for next year, 2021. So I kind of really started to think in terms of long-term strategies and future program content for work and for non-work. So I'm a very goal-oriented person. I actually signed myself up for a fitness competition this April, which was supposed to happen in the next couple of days. But obviously this has been canceled and postponed to next year. So instead of saying, oh, this is not happening for another year, I can just kind of slack off and not exercise. I decided that I'm still going to do the same thing the same prep that I've been doing to keep up with everything, and then maybe even changing my goals. So for next year, when the competition comes, I can even be in a better position. And in terms of my day-to-day, what I found really helpful was to still have that structure we've had before, still trying to, rest early and get up early, and then start the day with some sort of like stretching. And throughout the day, in terms of the work that I'm doing, I'm not forcing myself to sit there from 7:30 to 4:30 because I think the content of the work that I'm doing right now involves a lot of creativity and strategic thinking for the long term. So it's actually better for me to, maybe go out on the balcony and then walk around. And occasionally, at least last month, we were able to go to the state parks on some of the good days. And now we just try to stay closer home to kind of walk outside to really put yourself in the mindset of, okay, I'm preparing in advance for this work for the students that will be here next year. How can I serve these students when they're here? How can I do my best to serve them well? What kind of content can I come up with? So sort of putting myself in that kind of mindset. And also, lately I've also been picking up a lot of things that I wanted to do before, like going back on Duolingo to learn new languages like German, Korean, and Japanese, and found those to be very interesting. And it does not take up a lot of time. It takes probably like 10 minutes out of my day. And another thing that I've been doing that also only takes out 10 minutes of my day is I'm starting to do a split practice. I've always wanted to do a split, but I was never able to do one. So I'm now on my day 13, and this practice will take 30 days. So I'm very hopeful that by day 30, I'll be able to do a split. And, these things, they only take up 10 or 20 minutes of my day, but it really kind of inspires me to do better work throughout the day. So I think it's really worth it that I am trying these new things. And also I am connecting more with my parents who they live on the East Coast, which has been hit harder by the pandemic than us. So I make sure I call them for at least 15 minutes a day, connecting with them, learning about how their days are going. And so it's also been really helpful for me and for my parents that we're connecting more now as well.
Hi, this is Sarah Glodich. When it comes to my schedule, I agree with a lot of what people have said about transitions. So I've been trying to, I typically take the bus to work. So I've been trying to go for about a 20-minute walk in the morning, which is kind of my commute to work. And that helps me a lot so that I can just show up and be just ready to start working. I've also started doing this thing called the Pomodoro method, where you do a 50-minute block of focused work and then you take a 10-minute break. And then that's been helping me stand more, just know that I have that break scheduled, because I think that typically I just sit for too long and just try to keep focusing, and then ultimately you get more distracted. So I've been doing that. And then at lunch, I've been also doing these kind of lunch date situations where my husband and I will, stop what we're doing at lunchtime, and then we'll go to the kitchen and we'll just stand and eat lunch and talk about how our day. We'll play a card game and then go back to work. And that's just been helping a lot. And I agree with what people have been saying about, keeping in touch with family and calling and checking in with them. So I think that I'm actually calling and texting and messaging people more often than I ever have. So that's been really positive as well.
Thank you all. Sounds like so much of it, what I hear is two things, a lot of routine and a lot of being really mindful in this time, knowing that this time is not going to last forever. And so learning guitar and learning how to do the splits. I know for me personally, there are days when I just want to crawl under the covers and sleep for a week. So the next question I want to toss out is like, how are you staying motivated to keep going? You've got great things that you're doing. You've got great routines set, great ways of being mindful about the things you're doing, but how are you staying motivated to do those things?
I think that's a really good question. I think one thing that I've tried really hard to do, I think, is twofold. Is one is to give myself the grace that if I do need, I mean, I'm fortunate that I can flex my hours a little bit, but if my body at 7 a.m. is like, ain't happening, like I'm trying really hard to listen. I think Becca made a really good point that I think sometimes we aren't taking into consideration like the toll that it is taking on us. And so I think it's really important to kind of listen to that, to your body when your body is like, I need to take a time out from this. I think the other thing for me is I've just been making a lot of lists, both personal and professional, of things that I want to accomplish. So I'm a big, I think we've been remodeling our house now forever. Once you buy an old home to remodel, it never stops. But I think, I've always put a lot of those projects off. And so I think creating a list of the things that I want to accomplish at work, and then I think the things that I want to accomplish at home, I think the satisfaction of being, able to check those things off, but also see something that I've accomplished has been really beneficial to kind of staying motivated. But I think if I'm being transparent, there are some days, frankly, where like the motivation it's just not there. And I think that's okay. And I think allowing myself to be like, okay, today's going to be that day where it's not happening is okay too. So
I agree with Lindsay. This is Becca Raven. I have found that where I normally, I get up very early. My normal schedule is I rise at 4, and I'm, much to my husband's dismay, when my eyes open up, I'm on. And he, I think, probably sometimes pretends like he's asleep so that I don't start talking. But I will, I'm raring to go. I tend to be a little hard on myself, and I don't even realize it, that I like hold myself to that schedule. And what I have found through this time working at home, because I don't have to commute, I don't have to leave at a certain time to get to work, that I really know, no one is saying, Becca Raven, you have to be on your computer at 4:45 on those emails. And
Okay, but I can't help you right now.
And Sarah, can you put your computer on mute? Thank you. So that I find that I allow myself to set the alarm for later time. If I wake up on time, then groovy, I'm ready to go. But if I'm sleeping till the alarm goes off, I just go, good morning, ready for the day. I obviously needed that sleep. And that's been really important to me, to give myself permission to have the rest that I need. Because I think that's really where I am managing the external stress that I'm, maneuvering through. So that's a real big piece for me of how I'm maintaining, keeping motivated, because I have enough rest to hit the day.
Yeah, for me, like Lindsay and Becca have said, listening to your body. I think with having to go into work and having to have the stresses of being at the office, it wears a lot on the body. In my role, we have a lot of evening events. So then I'm working a full day and then going into a whole nother program at night. So that makes for for very long days, especially if it's a busy week where we have events Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So I've been listening to my body a lot, and I'd always heard that, you know, your body will naturally wake up when the sun rises. And so I've been testing this theory and I've kind of been enjoying it. I'm very fortunate that the window in my bedroom faces where the sun rises. So I've been sleeping with my blinds open. I'm usually typically like in the dark sleeper. So it's been really great to see the sunrise each morning, and that's an awesome motivation. I get another day. It's kind of like a fun treat to see all the different colors that come. Like this morning, it was a really bright orange and some blue and a little thin line of purple, just to kind of watch it all unfold before your eyes. It's a really great way to start the day. And you know, listening, because sometimes some mornings I'm like, oh no, we got to close these blinds, my body needs a bit more rest. But I think like that's a big part. And I create lists. I'm a to-do list person. I like to know, kind of look at my week and see what I need to make sure that I accomplish. And you know, obviously leaving room for those things that do come up kind of in between that need to be taken care of. So I enjoy the lists. It keeps me going. It makes me like look ahead at what I need to plan and how I can put things into my day. So, and what's great about the flexibility of working from home is that I do get some leeway in like when projects need to be kind of done. Because since we're all in this space, it's not like necessarily it has to be on my desk by tomorrow. Not that that's my role, but that's an example. But it's like, okay, like I have these other projects that are kind of been backed up. Is that okay if it gets to you by next week? And my boss has been really great about being flexible with that and understanding kind of our loads and what our priorities are for each of our positions. So finding that personal balance and like listening to my body, as well as continuing to kind of wanting to make those strides forward with things I wanted to do personally and professionally. I already talked about my home, but there's scholarships that I wanted to apply for as I look to advance myself, get an advanced degree. There's just different opportunities I want to look at, different webinars. So it's been nice that also the world has these opportunities that are available. So then you can still grow personally and professionally, even if it's not a physical going to a conference or going to sit in on a session. Those people are making it accessible, and that's been helpful and motivating to me throughout this time. And I have a trumpet, but I haven't been disciplined enough to try to learn it. But I want to pull the motivation of Becky into my life and start practicing. My neighbors will love it.
Definitely think there's a band forming as we're speaking.
You guys are so funny with the instruments, because with me having kids too, I treasure sometimes the moments of complete silence. So when I'm up early in the morning, I just like listening to the silence, but I think that is awesome that you guys are all learning something new. As far as how I stay motivated for working out in the morning, I like to check in online. So when I'm part of a boot camp, so after I have finished a workout, I like to put done, even if I'm the only one who comments, it still, I feel like, holds me accountable. And I am also a huge to-do list person. I like to make lists. I like to cross things off. But I also agree, I've been a little more forgiving of myself. If I don't get everything accomplished that I wanted to accomplish in a day, I know that I can always do it the next day. I just keep it on my list.
So for me, to help stay motivated, I joined an accountability group, actually created by an old college friend. So she asked me to join the group where every day, actually the group has 100 people now, but we post, the exercises that we've done each day, what we did, how long did it take, when sometimes people put down like when they did it. So there's like this morning group that try to get the exercise done first thing in the morning, like a lot of us here have mentioned. And also the group also have like a lot of people post up the food they eat each day. So people are trying to like cook different meals, make it look more interesting. And so it's sort of like everyone is helping each other staying motivated by sharing what they've done in terms of exercise and food each day. And so this is a group I go check in every day, multiple times to see what other people are up to. So I think it's been really helpful to find an accountability group where you can stay connected, and it really helps make these habits easier to follow. With this kind of group, it makes it a natural part of you and what you're doing each day, so you don't get pulled into kind of thinking over things and not acting to make yourself stay in a good state. So that's been really helpful for me.
Hi, this is Rebecca. I am going to be really honest. Motivation for me has been very on and off. Sometimes it's on and I feel like I can accomplish the whole world today, and other times I've just been very graceful with myself and understanding that it's just not happening for me that day. But I have had a couple of things. Cassandra, I love that you mentioned the sunlight aspect of waking up, because that has honestly kept me on time and on schedule. And I'm very thankful that this has happened now and not like in December when it gets dark at 6 p.m. and light at 8 a.m. So that's been really helpful, especially since I don't have like a blackout shade or anything. So I've been waking up, like 7, 8 o'clock, and being able to, I do 9 to 5 for my work day, doing kind of those similar breaks that you've talked about where you work 15 minutes and then take a 10-minute break. And sometimes that involves me going for a walk or just refilling coffee, making a new lunch or something exciting. And so that's kind of how I've been staying motivated, is just like allowing myself to kind of be on and off, but also staying accountable and maybe making a new thing that day. I've also really enjoyed my video chats that I've had with coworkers. My supervisor's been really flexible and understanding, especially with how new I am to working at the university. And so we just have weekly check-ins, and they're only a half an hour. And they've been super helpful at just keeping me on track. I can say like, hey, I'm having a really hard time with this and not sure what the next step is, or even how to do the next step. And we've been able to just really talk through what those look like. And she's been really good at talking to me about what my goals can look like and how far out I should set them. So I'm very grateful to have a supervisor that's been looking out for my best interest, especially since I know she has kids in her own life and pets and things. It's been really nice.
As I see that we're getting close to the end of time, and I know that some people have a next video thing they need to get to, I just want to open up the floor for, is there one more thing that you want to share? Either a piece of advice, something you've discovered during this time, a struggle that you've had that you want to just share so that other people, again, to give voice to some things, just to leave this one wide open.
One thing that I discovered about myself is how much my work setup impacts my productivity and my ability to really focus and hone in on what it is. Like, I've changed my work situation 3 times to find a flow, a space, a rhythm that works best for me. And I think advice for people is that try to figure out what that is for you. If it is sitting on the couch and having your laptop on the coffee table, great. If you need to be in another room where there's no TV and you can just shut the door, do that. But really be okay with it not being the exact setup of what your office is, because I think that allows us to explore those different things that kind of make us happy. Because a lot of us, when we go into our office, everything's kind of already set up how it needs to, is how it's already set up And we just come into that space based off of outlets and connections and access to doors. Like, it's already established for us, and we can add things on the wall. And I think this is a great time for us to really kind of break out of that and really feel what we need best to accomplish what we need to do.
I have found that it's really important to stay as positive as possible. Really be very selective about how much news that we're watching. I mean, certainly we're online with the university, so we're getting a lot of updates. And it's wise for us to read what's going on because so many things are changing and there are directives that we as employees need to be aware of. But what I find is when we watch too much news, we start to feel like we are, or we might start to feel like can blame somebody. And I think it's really important for us not to fall into a blame situation. Certainly we want people to be held accountable, but we all know if we get stuck in pointing fingers as opposed to keeping our brains open to solutions, and even more importantly, modeling what it is we really want people to be doing, I think that's a much better use of our energy, and it also builds us up. It doesn't depress us or bring us down. And really remembering to thank the people that are working in all the places that we find ourselves having to run out to with our face coverings and our gloves. But these people have to show up to work every day, and they're not seeing 2 people. They're seeing maybe hundreds of people. And they're still being friendly, and they're still stocking those shelves. And I think it's really important for us to be grateful and share that gratefulness and be kind to each other. It makes us come back to our safe havens for most of us, and be able to smile and go, I'm fortunate through this. And I want to put that energy, that intention out to the rest of the world so we get through this quicker and sooner than later. That's what I think is what I try to do every day, and I hope to share with you.
I think something for me is I think I've become a better advocate for my mental health. My significant other is probably like, yeah, you've become a really great advocate, let me tell you. But I do think it's important that, if you're somebody that is, your mental health is struggling through this, like mine is, I think I've just become more conscious of looking at the individuals in my life or the people that I'm calling and talking to and saying, like, what I really need from you today is X, Y, Z. And I think the converse of that is me asking, what do you need from me? Because I just think it's really important that, I think when you work all day, people kind of have this perception of what your mental health, they know if you've had a good day or a bad day when you walk in. And I think when we're a little bit more isolated like this, it can be hard to kind of figure those things out or have people kind of read those things off of you. So I think that has been really helpful and is really important to me. And then I think the other thing is kind of going off what Becca said is I've tried really hard to find ways to sprinkle joy because that brings joy to me. So I know I sent like all my friends' children's like stickers in the mail with a little tiny note that said like, I know this isn't the greatest time because you're not at school, but I hope you're having a great day, and here's some stickers. And I know that those stickers ended up on walls that may not have brought joy to their parents. But I think, it's little things that were, tiny and inexpensive and brought joy to me, knowing that it would bring joy to them. So those were my couple of things.
I would say for those of you that are home with kids, I'm just trying and learning to embrace the chaos. I try to remember, and you can probably hear how loud it is at my house right now. I try to remember that at my parents' house, it's probably very quiet, and they would probably love, say hi, Chloe. They would probably love to have their grandkids running around. And I also try to remember too, that it's also really hard for my kids as well as parents, and I try to be more forgiving of myself as a parent as well. I keep joking with my husband that I'm going to add a pandemic chapter to the toddler years because there's no chapter in the toddler's yearbook that is telling us how to all get through this. But Yeah, so basically, I'm just trying to embrace the chaos. It is what it is, and knowing that it won't be like this forever.
And I just want to jump in that, oh, adorable. um, um, so I think it's at this time it's really important for us to go easier on ourselves sometimes. Because I know that in the beginning when I learned that, okay, we need to, eat healthy, we need to get enough sleep. And in the beginning, I was not getting enough sleep because other people that I live with are on a different schedule. So I was sort of like beating myself up, thinking, oh gosh, I'm not getting enough sleep. In the day, I just felt like so tired. But gradually, I learned that it's okay, kind of just like react more spontaneously instead of kind of like giving yourself that double pressure. So sort of just like going easier and making small adjustments day to day really helps you form that habit. And once you become more relaxed, it's also, I think, it easier to kind of get into the healthier rhythms every day.
Sarah Glodich, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I want to offer you an opportunity. Is there anything that you want to add?
I guess what I want to add is that it's okay to do less, and it's okay to just take it day by day. Some days we, we'll cook dinner, and some days, I'll want to read a book or play board games. We just got The Sims. I haven't played that since I was 12, and just trying new things and being okay that this might be a downshift. I kind of think of things as there's different seasons of life. Sometimes the season of life is maybe like the summer where you're very social and out active and outside. And sometimes there's a season of life like the winter where it's cold and maybe you will do a winter hike and then take a nap. So this is just a season of life where I'm just accepting the fact that it's a bit slower. I'm being kinder to myself. Just, right now it's freezing out, not quite going out as much, and just, giving myself that kindness and grace that I can give myself right now.
Thank you all so much for this conversation. I know I said at the beginning that hopefully people will see pieces of their experiences reflected, and I have no doubt that that's going to be the case. And I really want to end this on something that Cassandra said, which is we are all in this space. And I will add, we are all in this space together. So allowing yourself grace, going day by day, taking the advice that people have, and reaching out when you need to reach out. Thank you all so much. Bye.